Hello and welcome to part 6 of this Tableau Made Easy series. In the last video, we took a look at the filters shelf and we added 2 new filters, which you can see over on the right, one based on location and one based on magnitude. These are most definitely the sorts of additions to a dashboard that can help the user dig into the data themselves and find the insights they need or find the answers to the questions that they have. In this video, I want to discuss the last area up here called the pages shelf. And just like we did with our filters, we will put this functionality into action as well. So what exactly is the pages shelf? Or perhaps even just what are pages? Well, the pages shelf allows us to break or split the view of our data, so the data points, or more specifically the earthquakes we see on screen here, into a sequence of separate and unique pages. Now that might still make no sense at all, so a better idea is to show you exactly what I mean and you can follow along as we go. So let's say that we, or our user or stakeholder, wanted to view the map of earthquakes by day, rather than all 30 days aggregated together like we have here. Now we could go and create a filter for that, and once we do that, over here on the right we could select each day individually from a drop-down list, in exactly the same way as we've done for location. But another, more visually appealing and interactive way we can do this is by using pages. So let's do this now and you'll see exactly what I mean. Let's start by dragging our date time variable here up onto the pages shelf and let's drop it there. Now, you may or may not have noticed, but when we did that, something new appeared over here on the right of screen. And before we play around with that, let's go back up to our pages shelf and we can see that Tableau has automatically summarized our datetime variable to year level. For what I'm proposing we build here, year level is not what we want. We actually want our datetime variable to be summarized by date. So let's tell Tableau to rework this for us. If we click the drop-down button here on our datetime variable in the pages shelf, we have a lot of options. We're going to head all the way down here to day. So not this day up here, which is like the day of the month alone, this one down here, which is the unique date itself. And once we select that, you'll have noticed that our map looks a bit bare. And the reason for that is that we are automatically only looking at the data points or earthquakes on our first page. And heading back over to the pages widget on the right there, we can see that this first page corresponds to the 11th of July 2022, which if we click on the drop down here, we can see is indeed the first date in our data. So now let me show you exactly what pages can do. Next to the drop down box that we're currently on, if we click the side arrow here, we will move to the 12th of July, and our map has updated to show the earthquakes that took place on that day. And if we keep clicking that button, we can keep moving forward in time, and each time our map is updated. How cool is that? But we can do even better. Down below the date, we have some buttons which will allow us to auto play through our data points. And before we play around with this, let's just put our date back to the very first one, so back to the 11th of July. And then down here at the bottom, you're going to see that we've got 3 small buttons over on the right with 1, 2, and 3 horizontal lines that will control the speed that we autoplay through our pages. So by default, this is set to medium. But for showing this functionality off, I'm going to put it over to the 3 lines, which is fast. And then over on the left here, if I click the play button, it will cycle through on its own. So just imagine how exciting this would be to somebody studying earthquakes that have taken place around the world. They can see right in front of their eyes where earthquakes are taking place each and every day, and potentially they could find patterns or trends. What's more, we can actually use the pages in conjunction with our filters. So for example, we could just select a certain country from our location filter, and perhaps we could specify some minimum and maximum values using our magnitude filter as well, and then our pages would iterate through day by day with those filters in place. So hopefully you can see how powerful a feature like this might be in the right context. Now, one more thing that I would like to mention is that here we've used our date variable to split up our earthquake data over time. And while this is quite an intuitive use case, we absolutely don't have to use a date or time-based variable for pages. We could have just as easily, say, have used location, and that would have meant we'd be scrolling through earthquakes by location. So in the same order that we have in our location filter up the top there. That would of course be somewhat redundant, especially with our filter already in place, but it's good to know that you don't have to use pages with date variables. It can be anything at all. So that is pages. It's not functionality that you'll need for all of your visualizations, but it is good to know that it's there. All right, so what we've done so far in Tableau here is pretty amazing. In a very short space of time, we've created a really cool visualization, and you should be so proud of that. What I want to do in the next tutorial is take this one step further, as while here we can see where a lot of the earthquakes are happening, it's hard for us to get any true insights. It's hard for us to get more specific information out of the data. We, or maybe thinking from a business point of view, our stakeholders who are using the dashboard that we've built, don't want to have to manually try to, say, count the number of dots on this chart to figure out which country or region or state had the most earthquakes, or in other words, the highest frequency of earthquakes in this 30-day period of time that our data has captured. We've also only created a map here, and while maps can be very powerful visualizations, it often won't be applicable, and we'll want to use some other chart types that better showcase the data we have and the key insights that we or our stakeholders need. So let's go and create a couple more charts to help us pull out and visualize some interesting and powerful information. Make sure that you save your workbook, so File, Save to Tableau Public. Let's go ahead and hit Save, and yes, I want to overwrite our current dashboard. And as always, I will see you in the next video.